My name is Alara Quinn, and my mother destroyed my wedding with one sentence. You are a disgrace to this family. She said it as I walked down the aisle, loud enough for every guest to hear. The music faltered, the priest hesitated, and I stood frozen in my gown, veil trembling in my hands. My father tried to silence her, but she brushed him off. You think this farce is love? Look at her, she's shaming us. Gasps rippled through the room. My fiancé David whispered, keep walking. I forced myself forward, heart hammering, each step heavier than the last. My mother's eyes followed me, full of satisfaction, as if humiliation were her blessing. The ceremony continued because it had to. I said my vows with a cracked voice. My mother refused to stand for the photos. I won't pose beside mistakes, she told the photographer before walking out. That night, in the hotel room, I sat on the bed still wearing my dress. Mascara streaked my cheeks. David squeezed my hand. She'll calm down. But I'd heard that my whole life. My mother never calmed, she conquered. 3 weeks later, she hosted a family brunch. Everyone came except me. My aunt sent photos, crystal glasses, roses, my mother smiling wide. I stared until the image blurred. The woman who raised me had erased me. 2 months passed before I touched my grandmother's pendant again. She died that spring, leaving me a sealed envelope marked in her delicate hand. For when they call you a disgrace. I had promised I wouldn't open it unless I truly needed to. That night I did. Inside was a letter, 3 pages, written in ink that trembled but never broke. My Alara, it began. If you are reading this, your mother has forgotten where she came from. Pride has stolen her kindness. You will think you failed her. You did not. You refused to become her reflection. I read on, every word sharper than truth. There is something locked in our house that she buried to protect her image. When you are ready, you must open it. The key lies beneath her vanity mirror, the one she polishes more than her heart. My chest tightened. I remembered that mirror, the gold frame, the perfume bottles, the way she'd scold me for touching it as a child. She'd say, respect what's valuable. I hadn't realized she meant herself. The last lines of the letter felt like a command. When you find the key, do not use it for anger. Use it for light. Read what I left for you where no one can twist your voice. The truth must be spoken aloud. I folded the pages and slipped them back into the envelope. My grandmother had always chosen her moments carefully. If she wrote this, there was more buried than secrets. There was intent. I looked at my reflection in the window, tired eyes, bruised heart, but something new underneath, steadiness. My mother could label me a disgrace, but she couldn't rewrite my bloodline. The next morning I called my father. I need to visit the old house, I said. He paused. Your mother's away until evening. Be careful. I will, I told him. I just want to see what she left behind. He sighed softly. Your grandmother trusted you for a reason. Whatever you find, make it worth her faith. When I hung up, I tucked the envelope into my coat and glanced at the mirror by the door. My reflection no longer looked like someone pleading for approval. It looked like someone ready to end the cycle that began long before her wedding day. I grabbed my keys and stepped into the night air. The wind carried the faintest scent of lavender, my grandmother's perfume. It followed me down the hall like a quiet promise. At that moment, I didn't know what truth waited inside that house, or what it would cost to open it. I only knew one thing. The next time my mother called me a disgrace, I'd have the proof that the title no longer belonged to me. As I reached my car, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. If you go to the manor tonight, bring witnesses. Your mother installed cameras where she hides her sins. The old Quinn Manor sat on the hill like a photograph someone had tried to forget. The ivy clung to its stone walls, and the windows watched like eyes that still remembered everything. My mother had inherited it after my grandparents died, but she treated it as a museum of reputation, not of love. Only one part of the house was forbidden, the west wing. I'd asked about it once when I was a child. She'd said it was unsafe. My grandmother had called it sacred. That contrast alone was enough to make me drive there now, under gray clouds that seemed to weigh the road. My father met me by the gate. He looked older than I remembered, smaller, quieter. She won't like you being here, he said. She never does, I answered, stepping through. Inside, everything was too clean. No warmth, no sound, no trace of the family that used to laugh here. Only photographs. My mother in pearls, my grandmother cropped out of most of them. The west wing door stood where it always had, the paint slightly darker, the handle stiff from disuse. I remembered sneaking there once at 7 years old, hearing faint piano notes before my mother found me and locked it for good. Now I had the letter and the instruction. The vanity mirror. Her bedroom smelled like perfume and control. Bottles lined the dresser like soldiers. The mirror towered over everything. Flawless, untouchable. Beneath it, I felt for a panel, the same spot my grandmother's sketch had marked. My fingers brushed a groove. A loose piece of wood gave way and something small fell into my palm. A brass key tied with red string. A tag dangled from it, studio. The west wing door opened with a dry sigh. Dust floated like ghosts in the fading light. Canvases leaned against the walls, covered by sheets that disintegrated when I touched them. Underneath, paintings of faces I didn't recognize but somehow felt I knew. Then one stopped me cold. It was of a girl in a white dress. Not a wedding dress but a simple one. My face at 10. My grandmother's brushstrokes captured joy my mother had long since trained out of me. Beside the easel was a small wooden box. Inside, another envelope waited. To the woman who will remember. My grandmother's handwriting again. Alara. The world will tell you family means obedience. I raised you to know it means protection. Your mother locked this room because she feared what it revealed. The truth is inside the chest by the wall. Read it aloud when she cannot interrupt. I turned. Against the far wall, hidden behind draped cloth, stood a cedar chest. The lid creaked open, revealing stacks of papers, sealed folders, and a thick document stamped Quinn Estate Transfer, 1983. The first page listed my grandfather's will. The second showed an amendment, one that removed my grandmother's co-ownership and transferred the entire estate to my mother alone. But the signature on that amendment didn't match his. It was forged. I froze. My mother had rewritten her own inheritance. Beneath the documents lay a cassette tape labeled, "For the next Quinn bride." My hand shook as I placed it in the old player beside the easel. The tape hissed, then my grandmother's voice, tired but unbroken. "Truth has a sound. Don't let her silence it again." Then the line went dead. The camera above the door clicked, faint but distinct. She was still watching. I yanked the cord from the wall. My mother had called me a disgrace. Now I knew why, because I was the living evidence of what she stole. I packed the papers into my bag and locked the studio door behind me. My father waited in the hall, pale. "She called me," he said softly. "She knows you're here." "How?" she said. "Tell Alara to stop before she destroys what's left of us." I handed him one page from the file, the forged deed. Then she destroyed it long before I arrived. Thunder rolled outside. The storm that had been threatening all day finally began to fall. My father whispered, "She will come back tonight." "I know," I said. "Let her." Lightning flashed against the windows as the front gate creaked open. My mother's car pulled into the drive, headlights cutting through the rain, and in her hand as she stepped out I saw a second key. Rain pounded the glass like fists. Headlights split the darkness as my mother's car stopped before the porch. I could see her silhouette through the storm, upright, deliberate, holding something small that glinted in the lightning. A key. My father stood behind me, pale. "She said she was coming to collect what's hers," he whispered. "What's hers?" I echoed, my voice flat. "Was forged on paper she stole." The front door opened without hesitation. My mother entered as if she still owned the air in the house. Her coat dripped onto the marble, but she didn't wipe it away. "You," she said, locking eyes with me. "Always where you shouldn't be." I didn't answer. The brass key from the vanity pressed cold against my palm. "I warned you not to touch that room," she continued, dropping her purse on the table. "You've always confused curiosity with courage. What did you find?" "Memories," I said. "And proof." Her gaze sharpened. "Proof of what?" "Forgery." A flicker, fear quickly buried. "Ridiculous," she said. "Your grandmother's imagination has infected you." I took out the estate file and laid it on the table between us. "Your imagination signed grandfather's name 20 years after he died." The silence stretched. Only the rain spoke, steady and unrelenting. My father stepped back, but she didn't look at him. Finally she smiled, the kind of smile that turns cold before it reaches the eyes. "You don't understand business," she said. "Your grandmother would have lost everything. I protected this family." "You protected your reputation," I said. She walked closer until the distance between us was only air and thunder. "You think you're righteous because of a letter? Because an old woman wanted to stir drama from her grave?" "She left more than words," I said. Her coat rustled as she reached into her pocket and pulled out the second key. It was identical to mine but older, tarnished. "You were never the only one she trusted," she said softly. "What does that open?" She tilted her head, almost pitying. "The vault beneath this house. The one she built after your grandfather's death. The one holding what you think you want." My pulse jumped. "You knew about it all this time." "Of course," she said. "I sealed it. Some truths serve no purpose but pain." I took a step forward. "Then unseal it." Her expression turned sharp. "No. You've done enough damage. You've humiliated me, rifled through my rooms, dragged up ghosts that should stay buried." The words hit like stones. For a heartbeat, the child in me wanted to apologize, to make her love me again. But the adult she created didn't bend anymore. "Maybe you buried them because they knew what you did," I said. Her hand twitched, gripping the key tighter. "If you open that vault, Ilara, I swear you'll regret it." The door to the west wing creaked suddenly. My father. He stood there, shaking, holding something I hadn't seen him touch in years. An old photo album. "Stop lying," he said quietly. "You didn't seal it for pain. You sealed it for money." She turned on him like a blade. "You don't know what you're talking about." He opened the album, revealing a newspaper clipping tucked inside. The headline read, "Local charity missing funds, Quinn Foundation silent." "She used grandmother's name to funnel donations into her own accounts," he said to me. "Your grandfather's vault kept the records. That's why she locked it." My mother's face went white, then hardened again. "You would destroy me with gossip?" "No," I said. "The truth will." She backed toward the door, fury flaring like lightning behind her calm. "You don't know what that vault holds. You think it will save you, but it will bury us all." "Then we'll see who survives the burial," I said. She raised the key between us, the metal flashing. "You'll never open it." But when she turned to leave, I noticed something slip from her coat pocket, a folded letter sealed with wax. She didn't see it fall. When the door slammed behind her, I picked it up. The seal was my grandmother's. The same looping signature. My hand shook as I opened it. "If you are reading this, the vault has not been opened in truth. The second key is only half the lock. The rest requires the name of the one who remembers me with love, not shame." Beneath it, one final line. "Your mother will never be able to open it. But you can." The pendant at my neck felt suddenly heavier. I turned it over in my hand, and saw, carved faintly into the back of the locket, 3 letters I had never noticed before. When rearranged, they formed one word, key. By morning the storm had drained into fog. The manor sat still, wrapped in silence that felt staged. My father waited in the kitchen, eyes red from a night without sleep. Between us lay my grandmother's letter and both brass keys, one bright, one tarnished. "She'll come back," he said. "She always does." "I'm not running this time," I told him. The letter's final words circled my mind. The second key is only half the lock. My grandmother had hidden her truth under generations of control. And now that truth lived somewhere beneath our feet. We searched the cellar first. Stone steps, damp air, the scent of cedar and dust. Shelves lined with jars, the forgotten leftovers of another century. My father traced the wall with his hand, stopping where the stones felt wrong, smoother, newer. A faint seam ran along the baseboard. "Here," he said. Behind a row of crates, half hidden by paint cans, a brass plate sat flush against the stone. Engraved in the center was a symbol, a stylized Q split by a line. I pressed the first key into the slot. It fit but didn't turn. The second slid beside it, locking into a twin groove. When I turned both together, gears ground inside the wall. The stone shifted. A narrow door opened inward, exhaling air that smelled like paper and rain. Inside was a small chamber, wood-paneled, lined with ledgers, canvases, and sealed boxes stamped with the family crest. At the far end, a desk stood beneath a single hanging bulb. On it rested a metal safe, its dial glinting in the weak light. My heart pounded. This is it. My father nodded. She said it was sealed after the charity audit. Your grandmother never touched it again. A slip of paper sat on top of the safe. One word written in familiar script. Name. I touched the pendant around my neck, my grandmother's locket. I remembered the carved letters I discovered last night. KY. I whispered the word softly, and the lock clicked open. Inside were 3 items. A tape recorder, a folder of financial records, and a small velvet pouch. I opened the folder first. Every page detailed my mother's manipulation of the Quinn Foundation. Transfers disguised as operational costs. Millions moved quietly into offshore accounts. My mother hadn't just forged signatures. She had stolen charity money meant for children's hospitals and scholarships in my grandmother's name. My father sank into a chair, face gray. She swore those rumors were lies. She swore a lot of things, I said. I pressed play on the recorder. Static. Then my grandmother's voice, soft, deliberate. If you are hearing this, the vault has been opened by love, not greed. The one listening must carry truth, even if it hurts. This house is not built on bloodlines but on mercy. Let it be restored with both. Her tone wavered at the end, as though she already knew how her daughter would rewrite her story. Inside the velvet pouch was her wedding ring, plain gold, worn smooth. Engraved on the inner rim were 5 words. For the one who forgives. Forgive. The hardest word in the English language. My father looked at me. What will you do? I stared at the ledgers. Tell the truth. You'll destroy her. She destroyed herself. I'm just letting the light in. I carried the documents upstairs, laid them out across the dining table like evidence in a trial. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number again. You don't understand what you found. Those accounts don't belong to her alone. They belong to the foundation board. If you expose it, they'll come after you too. I froze. Another shadow behind hers. My mother wasn't the only one feeding off stolen kindness. My father read over my shoulder. Who would send that? Someone with more to lose than her, I said. I packed the papers and the ring into a folder. We're leaving. Where? To someone who can verify every dollar. The drive into town felt longer than usual. The fog thinned as the courthouse appeared ahead. I asked to see the district auditor, the same one who'd led the investigation years ago before the case mysteriously closed. When I mentioned my grandmother's name, his expression changed. We were told the records burned in a flood, he said. They didn't, I replied, placing the file on his desk. He opened it, eyes widening with each page. If these are authentic, they'll reopen the case immediately. They are, I said. I have her voice on tape to prove it. He reached for the phone. Stay here. This could take a while. Outside, rain began again, softer this time. I looked down at the ring in my palm and thought of forgiveness, not as surrender but as reclamation. When I returned home that night, the house was dark except for one light burning in the west wing. On the easel where my grandmother's portrait once stood, a new canvas waited, wet paint still dripping. It wasn't my mother's face this time. It was mine. The sight of my own face painted fresh on that canvas stole the air from my lungs. The brushstrokes were wrong, sharper, colder, deliberate. This wasn't my grandmother's hand. It was imitation. A threat disguised as art. The paint was still wet. Someone had been here minutes ago. I turned slowly, scanning the room. The scent of her perfume, white jasmine, my mother's signature, hung faintly in the air. She'd come back while I was gone. My father appeared behind me, breath uneven. She knows about the auditor, he said. The courthouse called asking if we authorized the handover. She's already trying to stop it, I whispered. On the easel's ledge sat a folded note sealed with red wax. My name etched across it, Alara. I tore it open. You think you've found power, but all you've found is noise. If you drag this family's name through the courts, you'll destroy what little dignity we have left. The foundation's secrets are bigger than me. Leave them buried or they'll bury you. Underneath was a check sign, blank. I laughed softly. She's bribing me. My father shook his head. It's not just her anymore. That warning about the board, it's real. I studied the portrait again. The eyes were mine, but the expression wasn't. Arrogant. Ruthless. The way she wanted people to see me. She's rewriting me now, I said quietly. Just like she rewrote grandfather's will. I took the painting off the stand and flipped it. A flash drive was taped to the back. She wanted me to find this. We plugged it into the old laptop in the study. Dozens of files appeared, labeled by date and amount. Every one was a foundation transfer, each larger than the last. The final folder was named Lavender Trust. Inside, a single document titled Beneficiary Revision, Quinn Estate. My heart sank as I read it. It claimed my grandmother's entire charity was left to the Lavender Trust, an entity founded by her daughter and granddaughter jointly. But the signature under granddaughter wasn't mine. It was forged. Again. She's preparing for the next fraud, I said. If I stay silent, she'll use my name to legitimize it. The house phone rang. My father and I froze. It was an old landline no one used anymore. I answered. Her voice was calm, measured. Alara, I see you found my gift. You mean your blackmail? I mean your inheritance. You have a choice now. Destroy the records, and I'll sign the Lavender Trust over to you. Publicly. You'll have everything, the estate, the name, the power to build something real. Or go to the authorities and watch every door close on you. You forged my signature, I said. I perfected what you never learned, control. My father took the phone. Stop this, Celeste. It's over. She ignored him. Alara, the world doesn't reward righteousness. It rewards narrative. Right now, the narrative favors me. I hung up before she could finish. My pulse roared in my ears. Do you believe her? My father asked. I believe she's scared, I said. And desperate people make mistakes. We left the painting and took the flash drive to the sheriff's office. I handed it to Detective Harris, the one who'd once investigated the missing charity funds. You'll want to see this. He plugged it in. His brows lifted as he scrolled. If this is authentic, it's enough to indict not only her but half the foundation board. Then do it, I said. He nodded slowly. We'll need a formal statement. While I signed the paperwork, I noticed something on his desk. An open file stamp pending appeal. Charity embezzlement 1999. The name at the top made my stomach twist. Celeste Quinn. The same case my grandmother had tried to reopen before her death. My mother had buried not just evidence, she had buried history. When we drove home, the manor was dark again. But the west wing light was on, faint and flickering. I walked toward it, each step echoing in the hall. My father called after me, but I didn't stop. Inside the studio, the painting was gone. Only the easel remained empty. On the floor lay my grandmother's pendant, snapped from its chain. I knelt to pick it up. A whisper came from behind me. You shouldn't have gone to the police. My mother stood in the doorway, rain dripping from her coat, eyes bright with fury. Where's the painting? I asked. Burning, she said. Like your illusions. I rose slowly, the broken pendant in my hand. Then let's burn everything left between us. Her jaw tightened. Careful, Alara. Some fires don't stop when you want them to. Before I could answer, headlights swept across the window. Another car. Doors slammed outside. My mother's face went pale. They're here, she whispered. And they're not coming for me. Engines idled outside the manor, low and steady. Two dark sedans sat in the rain, their headlights slicing through the mist. My father stood frozen by the window. My mother's face drained of color. They're early, she whispered. Who? I asked. The Foundation's private investigators, she said quietly. They don't knock. A hard knock answered her. 3 times. Not frantic, official. My father turned off the lights. They can't come in without a warrant. They don't need one, she muttered. Their funding keeps half the town's charities alive. They think they're untouchable. I moved toward the hall, but she caught my wrist. Her fingers were ice. Alara, listen to me. If you show them those records, they'll bury both of us. You'll be branded the accomplice who exposed confidential data. I didn't forge a thing, I said. They don't care who forged it. They care who talked. The knock came again, louder. Miss Quinn, a man's voice called. We're here to discuss a recent breach involving Foundation assets. Open the door. I pulled free from her grip. You wanted control, Mother. Now open the door and control this. When she didn't move, I did. The bolt slid back with a metallic snap. 3 men in dark coats entered without waiting for invitation. One held an envelope. Another carried a briefcase. The first man, tall, silver hair, gave a rehearsed smile. Miss Quinn, we represent the Foundation's legal division. You've come into possession of restricted property. We're here to recover it. You mean evidence of theft? I said. His smile didn't falter. That's one interpretation. He set the envelope on the foyer table. You'll find a confidentiality order inside. Sign it, and this matter ends quietly. Decline, and our board will pursue civil action for defamation and breach of fiduciary duty. My father stepped forward. You have no jurisdiction here. The man's gaze flicked over him. Mr. Quinn, your name appears on several of the Foundation's earlier filings. If you wish to avoid involvement, step aside. I opened the envelope. The document was dense with clauses: non-disclosure, forfeiture, waiver of legal claims. At the bottom, 2 signature lines: Celeste Quinn and Alara Quinn. My mother exhaled shakily. Sign it, Alara. Please. No, I said. Not until someone explains why the Foundation used our family trust as a private bank account. The silver-haired man's smile thinned. Because your grandmother authorized it. She didn't, I said. I have her voice on tape. He blinked once. Then give us the tape. I folded my arms. You'll get it when the state does. The third man, younger, impatient, stepped forward. Miss Quinn, this can go one of 2 ways. 3, I interrupted. The one where you leave before trespassing turns into obstruction. The man froze, eyes narrowing. You think the sheriff will protect you? Ask him yourself, I said. He's on his way. My father looked at me in alarm, but I wasn't bluffing. Before they arrived, I texted Detective Harris a single line. They're here. As if on cue, sirens cut through the rain. Red and blue light washed across the walls. The silver-haired man straightened. You've made a serious mistake. Not as serious as the ones you've made, I said. The deputies entered a moment later. Soaked but steady. Harris led them. Evening, gentlemen. Heard there was a dispute about stolen property? The intruder's leader smoothed his coat. Confidential corporate matter, detective. Then you won't mind explaining it downtown, Harris said. They hesitated. My mother finally spoke, voice low. Detective, I invited them. They represent the Foundation's board. Harris raised a brow. That's so? Then you won't mind me asking about the forged estate documents they've been circulating? The silver-haired man's composure cracked for the first time. Forged. I stepped forward. The same documents they filed under my grandmother's name. Harris motioned to his deputies. We'll need statements from everyone here. For now, nobody leaves. My mother pressed a trembling hand to her forehead. You've doomed us all, Alara. No, I said softly. I've freed us. Harris turned to the intruders. You gentlemen can either sit tight or ride with me. Your choice. The men exchanged a glance, then followed him out into the rain. Their tires screamed as they drove away. When silence returned, my mother sank onto the nearest chair, shaking. You don't understand. They'll retaliate. They'll destroy what's left of this family. What's left, I said, was never built on truth. She lifted her head slowly. You think this ends with them leaving? They'll come for the house, the trust, the accounts, everything. Let them, I said. I have her voice, her records, her ring. The truth is louder than their lawyers. My father whispered. What if she's right? I looked toward the west wing, where the vault door still stood ajar. The air inside whispering of things unburied. Then I'll give them a story they can't silence. The phone rang again, the same unknown number as before. I answered, expecting silence. Instead, a woman's voice said calmly, You think you've won, Miss Quinn. But your grandmother's tape isn't the only one she recorded. The woman's voice on the phone was smooth, measured, and unfamiliar. You're not ready for what comes next, Miss Quinn. Who is this? I asked. She didn't answer. Only the faint click of a tape recorder came through the line. followed by my grandmother's voice, fragile but unmistakable. If they found this one, it means the first recording wasn't enough. The truth goes deeper than theft. It lives where love was sold. Then silence. The line went dead. My father looked at me terrified. That was her, wasn't it? It was her voice, I said. But not from my tape. My mother stood in the corner, gripping her chair like a lifeline. There was no second recording. She never. She did, I interrupted. And someone else has it. The rain outside turned heavier, hammering the windows. The house felt smaller listening. I replayed the words in my head where love was sold. That wasn't about money. It was about motive. I opened the ledger again, scanning the list of charity transfers. Most ended up in shell accounts, but one name repeated across several years. The Lavender Trust Foundation for Women's Welfare. It wasn't just a fake organization. It was real and active. Its listed address was downtown. Same building that housed the foundation's offices. She used charity money to buy control, I said. A shell that funds her board. My mother whispered, "You don't know what you're exposing. The board isn't just business owners. They're politicians, judges, donors. They built this city." "Then let's see how they like light," I said. I called Detective Harris and told him about the second tape. "We'll trace the number," he said. "But be careful. If that recording surfaces, it could destroy reputations on every side." "Good," I said. "Maybe that's what's needed." 2 hours later, the call traced to a phone registered under the Lavender Trust itself. Whoever held the second tape wanted me to know. My father wanted to leave the house. My mother refused to move. I gathered every piece of evidence and locked it in a safe in the study. "If they want to silence me, they'll have to take the walls with them," I said. At dawn, a delivery truck stopped at the gate. No company name, no driver visible. A single package was left on the porch. My mother's voice cracked as she read the label, "For the daughter who chose truth." Inside, wrapped in cloth, was a cassette tape identical to the first. A note taped to the side read, "Play this where she was silenced." We drove to the old chapel on the manor grounds, my grandmother's favorite place, long abandoned. The wooden doors moaned open to reveal dust, pews, and the faint scent of lavender. I placed the cassette in the old player near the altar. The first few seconds hissed, then her voice filled the room again, softer, slower. "Celeste will try to save the family name. But the family name is the lie. The foundation was never meant to be a charity. It was meant to cleanse reputations, laundering guilt into grace." My mother turned pale. "She's lying." "Is she?" I said. The recording continued. "When I refused to let them use my name, they forged my signature. The money wasn't for hospitals. It was for silence. For the wives of men who built their wealth on other people's ruin. They made me a figurehead. When I tried to expose them, they shut the doors." Then her voice hardened. "But I left the proof. I left it with the one they will never suspect." The tape ended abruptly, clicking into stillness. My father's voice trembled. "The one they'll never suspect. Who?" I looked at my mother. "It's you, isn't it?" She shook her head. "I don't have anything." "You do," I said quietly. "That vault downstairs wasn't the only one she built." Her silence confirmed it. I stepped closer. "Where is it?" "You wouldn't understand," she whispered. "It's not mine to open." "It was never yours to steal either." For the first time she looked afraid, truly afraid. "They'll kill me if I talk." "Then let them hear you before they try," I said. We searched the chapel while the storm thinned outside. Behind the altar, beneath cracked marble tiles, my father found a small metal hatch. Dust coated the hinges. The same family crest was carved into its surface. A split Q. I turned the pendant key. Fit perfectly. The lid opened to reveal a second ledger, newer than the others, and a sealed envelope marked to the one who believed. My mother's voice shook. "That's mine." "No," I said. "It's hers." I broke the seal. Inside were bank receipts, donation ledgers, and photographs. Handshakes, smiles, contracts. Every lie printed in color. At the bottom, one final letter in my grandmother's hand. "If you are reading this, you are ready to destroy the foundation that destroyed us. But truth costs legacy. Choose carefully what name you save, theirs or ours." Before I could speak, the chapel doors burst open. 2 Foundation agents stood in the doorway, and one of them held Detective Harris's badge. Rain blew in through the chapel doors as the 2 men stepped inside. One of them wore a raincoat, the other held up Detective Harris's badge. The sight twisted my stomach. "Evening, Miss Quinn," the taller one said, lowering his hood. It was Harris, alive but different. His eyes were flat, voice measured. "You shouldn't have come here." My father moved in front of me. "What's happening?" Harris's partner, a younger man with a foundation pin, closed the door behind them. "We're securing evidence," he said. My mother whispered, "You're with them." Harris sighed. "Your grandmother tried the same crusade. She ended up buried in headlines and silence. I'm offering you a cleaner end." "You were investigating them," I said. "I was keeping the peace," he replied. "Some truths do more harm than lies. Hand over the envelope, Miss Quinn." "No." He stepped closer. "The foundation funds half this county's justice system. You think they'll let a family scandal destroy them? Don't make yourself collateral." My pulse thundered, but my voice didn't shake. "Then you'll have to take it." He frowned. "I was hoping you'd listen." The younger man reached for the envelope on the altar. My father lunged, grabbing his arm. The papers scattered across the floor. Ledgers, photographs, signatures flashing under the chapel lights. Harris's tone snapped sharp. "Enough." His hand went to his coat. I didn't wait to see what came next. I hit the emergency call button on my phone, sending our GPS to the county line. My grandmother had shown me how to set it years ago. Her version of faith. Sirens wouldn't come fast enough. My mother picked up the pendant key from the hatch and turned to Harris. "You want proof?" she said. "Then hear this." She tossed the key at him. "My mother built this place on mercy. You built your career on silence. Which one do you think history forgives?" He caught it instinctively, and that pause was enough. My father kicked the scattered papers toward me. I grabbed the envelope, stuffed what I could into my coat, and ran. Behind me, Harris shouted, "Alara!" Boots hit the stone floor. My footsteps echoed down the corridor as I burst into the rain. The manor loomed through the fog, every window dark except one, the west wing. I sprinted across the courtyard, water soaking my dress, breath burning. Inside, the studio was exactly as we'd left it. Empty easel, faint smell of paint. But something new waited on the desk. A USB drive, silver untouched, labeled "Play Me." My mother's voice called faintly from the hall. "Alara, don't." I plugged it into the laptop. A video opened, dated 2 weeks before my grandmother's death. She sat in that same chair, painting slowly, speaking directly to the camera. "If my daughter finds this, she'll destroy it. If my granddaughter finds it, she'll understand." She lifted a single document, the Foundation's original charter. "This paper is the beginning of the lie. The Lavender Trust was never charity. It was insurance for powerful men who feared the truth. My name was used to sanctify sin." Then her eyes softened. "But truth is not a weapon, Alara. It's a light. Use it, but don't let it blind you." The screen flickered. Harris's voice entered the background, younger, nervous. "Ma'am, you shouldn't record this. They'll retaliate." "Then let them," she replied. "Someone must remember." The video ended. I stared at the paused frame. Harris standing behind her, head bowed. He'd been there all along. My mother appeared in the doorway, drenched, shivering. "Now you see why I stayed quiet." "You knew," I said. "I lived it," she whispered. "When she refused to give them the deed, they threatened me. The board made her choose between silence and scandal. She chose scandal, and they erased her." "Then why protect them now?" "Because survival is louder than justice," she said. "You think you're different, but once this goes public, they'll come for you too. You can't fight a machine built on legacy." "I don't need legacy," I said. "I have proof." Harris's shadow filled the doorway behind her. "And now," he said, "I have witnesses." 2 more figures entered, Foundation security in plain clothes. They blocked the exit, hands resting near concealed holsters. I backed against the table, gripping the pendant chain so tightly it cut my palm. "What happens now?" Harris's eyes softened almost imperceptibly. "We make it look like an accident. A gas leak. The papers will burn. The name will live on. For a moment time narrowed. I saw my grandmother's face in the portrait that once hung here. Her eyes painted toward the light. Then I remembered the ring in my pocket, for the one who forgives. Forgiveness wasn't surrender. It was strategy. I slipped the ring onto my finger and whispered, "Forgive me, Grandma, for doing what you couldn't." Then I swung the laptop off the desk, smashing it against the floor. The video drive snapped free. I grabbed it, dove for the side window and crashed through the glass into the rain. As I hit the ground, headlights blazed across the courtyard. Not from the Foundation's cars, but from a black SUV marked with federal insignia. A voice shouted through the storm, "Federal Bureau of Investigation. Step away from the house." Floodlights tore through the rain as agents surrounded the manor. Their voices rose over the storm, sharp, coordinated, commanding. Federal agents. Hands visible. Harris froze mid-step. The Foundation men beside him reached for their badges, but the agents were faster. Within seconds they were disarmed, pressed against the wall, metal cuffs clicking louder than thunder. An agent approached me through the downpour, coat heavy with rain. "Miss Quinn." "Yes." My voice trembled, but only from cold. "I'm Agent Cole. You're safe now." Behind him, my mother stood under the porch light, face ghost white. "You called them," she said. I shook my head. "No. Someone else did." The agent turned to her. "Ma'am, we have a federal warrant concerning financial crimes tied to the Lavender Trust. You'll both need to come with us." My father stepped forward. "She's not part of this. She's been helping." Cole glanced at me. "That true?" I hesitated, watching my mother's expression, defiance trying to hide fear. "She's guilty of silence," I said quietly. "But she's ready to talk." Cole nodded. "Then maybe we can all make this right." Inside, agents photographed everything. The ledgers on the floor, the broken glass, the shattered laptop. One found the USB drive clutched in my hand. "This the original evidence?" "Yes," I said. "And the tape's still in the vault." They logged every item, sealing it in plastic. For the first time in years, the house felt like it was breathing truth instead of lies. Harris was led past me in handcuffs, rain streaking his face. "You think this changes anything?" he hissed. "They'll replace me by morning. Then the morning can start honest for once," I said. He gave a bitter laugh as they pushed him toward the cars. My mother sank onto the steps, soaked and shaking. "You don't understand who you've provoked," she whispered. "These people built their world on silence. They'll burn yours to keep it." "Then they'll have to burn light," I said. Cole crouched beside her. "Mrs. Quinn, we've been gathering evidence for months. Your daughter just handed us the final piece. You can help us close this or join them." She looked up slowly. "They'll destroy me either way." "Not if you talk first," he said. Her eyes flicked to me and something shifted. Maybe exhaustion. Maybe surrender. "I'll testify," she murmured. Hours later, inside the federal office, I gave my statement. Every word felt like laying bricks on a new foundation. Not of money or status, but of truth. When I played the final recording, the room fell silent. My grandmother's voice filled the air, clear as candlelight. Legacy means nothing without conscience. When it ended, the lead prosecutor looked at me. "Miss Quinn, this confirms everything. The board's been laundering funds through falsified trusts for decades. We'll issue indictments by morning." I nodded, too tired to smile. In the waiting area, my mother sat alone, hands clasped tight. I sat beside her. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally, she whispered, "You sound just like her." "Maybe that's the best thing I've ever heard you say," I replied. Outside, dawn began to rise. The first pale light cut through the clouds, washing the courthouse windows in silver. Agent Cole approached again. "We'll need you both tomorrow for sworn depositions. Until then, stay somewhere safe. We can arrange protection." "I'll manage," I said. He hesitated, lowering his voice. "For what it's worth, your grandmother started this. You finished it." As we left, the rain finally stopped. The air smelled clean like new beginnings. Back at the manor, silence greeted us. The west wing door stood open, curtains drifting in the wind. My father met us in the hall, relief flickering in his eyes. "Is it over?" "Almost," I said. He handed me an envelope damp at the edges. A courier dropped this off while you were gone. Inside was a single sheet of stationery embossed with the foundation's seal. Congratulations, Miss Quinn. You've won one battle. Now let's see if you can survive the trial. No signature. Just a faint scent of lavender. I looked toward the old portrait wall. My grandmother's painting now restored, colors deeper than ever. Her eyes seemed to follow me, calm and knowing. They're scared, I said softly. My mother exhaled the faintest ghost of a smile. Then she'd be proud. That night, as I finally closed my eyes, the phone buzzed again. A new voicemail waited, my grandmother's voice once more clear and new. Elara, if you're hearing this, it means the trial has begun. You haven't heard the last secret yet. Morning sunlight crept across the manor walls, thin and cold. The voicemail still played in my head. My grandmother's voice, calm but urgent. You haven't heard the last secret yet. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the phone, the words looping like an unfinished sentence. My father brewed coffee in silence. My mother hadn't slept. She stood by the window, pale, watching the driveway as if expecting ghosts to arrive. What secret could possibly be left? My father asked. The one she kept even from herself, my mother whispered. Before I could ask what she meant, headlights swept across the gate. A delivery van stopped outside. The driver left a small wooden box on the porch. Unmarked, but I knew that would. It was the same cedar my grandmother used for her painting chests. Inside, the box was lined with blue velvet. On top lay a cassette labeled Final Statement L.H. and a sealed envelope addressed to Elara Quinn, custodian of truth. My hand shook as I opened it. The first line made my throat tighten. If this reaches you, it means my truth has outlived me. Good. That's what truth should do. She wrote of a final account she'd never reported. A hidden trust meant for the one who would rebuild, not avenge. It contained every penny that hadn't been stolen. A seed fund for something new, something pure. Then the next paragraph shifted everything. But money isn't the last secret. People are. There's someone you never met who deserves to know what name he carries. My mother's hand clamped over her mouth. No, she whispered. I looked at her. Who? Tears pooled in her eyes. Your grandmother had another child. The room fell silent. My father's mug slipped from his hand and shattered. She was 19, my mother said quietly, before she married your grandfather. The family forced her to give the baby away to protect their reputation. I found the papers once, sealed adoption records. She told me to burn them. I didn't. Where are they? I asked. In the city archives, she said. Hidden under a false name, Lily Hart. LH. My grandmother's initials. The tape's label suddenly made sense. I placed it in the recorder. Her voice filled the air again, soft and trembling. If Elara is listening, you must find him. His name is Aaron Cole. I believe he became the man who took my case when no one else would. Agent Cole. The federal agent who'd rescued us. My pulse stopped for a heartbeat. She's saying the agent. He's her son? My father's eyes widened. That means he's your great-uncle. I replayed the tape from the beginning, and this time I heard more. The echo of another voice in the background, faint but familiar. Don't worry, Lily. I'll make sure the truth finds her. Cole's voice. I stepped outside, the morning air sharp in my lungs. His SUV was gone, but a small envelope sat under the windshield wiper of my car. Inside was a note written in his hand. She was right. Some legacies are worth saving. Finish what she started. A bank slip was attached. The hidden account now transferred entirely in my name. The balance was modest compared to the foundation's millions, but enough to rebuild what they destroyed. When I returned inside, my mother looked smaller, older, yet softer. So that's her last gift, she said. Redemption by blood. No, I said. By choice. That afternoon, I drove to the courthouse. The trial had begun. Foundation executives lined the benches, their faces carved from stone. Reporters filled the gallery. My mother took the stand first. She confessed to everything she'd hidden, the forgeries, the hush money, the fear. Her voice shook, but it didn't break. When it was my turn, I placed my grandmother's ring on the witness stand. This belonged to the woman they called naive, I said. But she was the only one who saw clearly. The foundation called it charity. It was theft. And now the truth will pay its debt. Gasps rippled through the courtroom as I presented the final tape. The prosecutor played it aloud. My grandmother's confession, her heartbreak, her warning. When it ended, even the judge sat in silence for a long moment before speaking. "Let the record show," he said quietly, "that legacy can rot or bloom. Today it blooms." Outside, reporters swarmed the steps. I said nothing. I only looked up at the sky blue bright unchained. My grandmother's pendant rested warm against my chest, lighter than it had ever felt. By evening the verdicts came through. The foundation collapsed under the weight of its lies. The Lavender Trust funds were seized and redirected into new programs. Real ones under new names. And in the papers, one headline stood above the rest. "The granddaughter who rebuilt honor from ashes." At home I stood in the West Wing, where sunlight now touched every painting. My mother joined me, her voice barely a whisper. "What will you do now?" "Start a foundation," I said. "For truth. For mercy. For her." On the easel stood my grandmother's last unfinished canvas. I picked up a brush, dipped it in gold, and painted the final stroke, across the light she'd left waiting. This is my story, how disgrace became grace again. If you've ever been silenced, remember this. Legacies don't end with lies. They end when someone finally speaks.